Excuse me. Oh, where's John? Oh, no, he's not here? I got McKay. Okay. There he is.
We're on, Robin? Broadcasting? Oh, he's coming. These are, I don't know if anyone actually watches it, but it is broadcast.
I hope not. I hope it's not like Bill Brain or something.
I haven't told anyone, so my kids are making fun of me while I'm...
No, oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't want Jeff to know either. I'll be nervous.
Hello.
Hello.
That's John. He's the village attorney.
Okay.
Looks like we got just enough.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I'm Jen.
You're
Hi.
a new member?
Nice to meet you. You're not Joe? Zip?
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
I don't think Joe's been to a ZBA meeting in not a year.
Oh,
so,
okay. Just looking at the nameplate.
Looks like you got the draft resolution I sent out.
I did.
this afternoon.
Yeah, I looked through it.
I printed out a couple extra.
That's the one you gave me?
Yeah, do you have one? I didn't get it.
You might have brought
I think you gave, oh, no, I brought
Yeah,
this.
you
Oh,
brought
yeah,
that.
this is
Yeah,
the one you
that's
gave
the
me.
old-
Yep.
My bad.
Sent it to you and I completely forgot. I've been
Don't
doing
worry
this
about it.
way back.
Does it,
Thank you.
changed from the original one?
Not really, just the dates.
Got it.
Yep. Okay.
Do you know if anyone else is coming?
Nope, Matt and Steve are not joining us this evening.
They're vacationing in Maui.
Wow, lucky them.
No.
Both of them?
No.
Whenever you guys are ready to get started then. And last meeting, we left the public hearing open, so we don't have to.
Okay.
Oh.
Do you remember what the dates were of
What does
the
that
previous
mean?
meeting? It was longer than I
Well,
thought.
usually we
January
make a
12th.
motion to
January?
public hearing.
But because we didn't close it last time
That's
because
why
it
I'm
was the
asking.
unresolved. I forget why we
So it
didn't.
was
close
January
it.
12th. We had one the next month. Was it February?
Yeah,
Right.
that was for something
So what would have
else.
happened if in between them we had a different application that came through the,
Yeah,
Asked them for additional information.
okay.
I mean, usually.
I'm just gonna say
But
February.
at some point, I mean, like if we had a different
the one
application
before
come
that
in, we
was
would have then
December
closed the
8th.
public hearing.
and then we
For
met
our own
again
internal
on
discussion.
January 12th.
A different application.
Yeah.
We
the
met
same
on this
No,
one?
no, from a different applicant. Let's say we'd gotten something else from, for another
think
variance
so.
for some other property by a different applicant somewhere else, and we'd had a meeting between June and
Yes,
September, or
because
June and
I
August,
was-
I mean,
No, this is
Every
January.
public hearing.
That's the January minutes, but if you turn it around, it says.
To the
we
application,
approve
okay.
the-
Okay.
The minutes for.
It's been a long time since I
December,
read
and
Robert's
think
Rules
that's
of
what
Order, so, you know, it's,
Yeah, it's
gotta-
Don't actually remember.
February or March, definitely.
You don't remember the ZBA meeting from December?
okay.
So
And
was
I
this
think it
submitted
was
since
August.
then, or this, oh, okay, so that's why it didn't.
Oh, that's what it was.
January.
That's right, you were here.
It's January. Then, it's January we last did this, okay. Yeah,
Okay.
for that fine.
Yeah, it was January.
Throw that out there.
Oh, it was February. I didn't think it was
Yeah.
February.
Do we
I didn't even know there was 500.
It's just the free parking,
Oh, okay, yes,
sign parking.
which I pay taxes for.
All right, I'll turn it over to you guys.
Okay. All right. You call the meeting to order. Today we'll have conduct the Village of Cornwall and Hudson Zoning Board of Appeals meeting dated August 10th, 2023. We have one item on the agenda today that is a continuation of a previous meeting that was conducted in January and February of 2023. And that is an application by Ms. Glendenning at 2 Riverbank Lane. The public hearing on application by Susan Eichelberg Glendenning as property owner for variances from section 172-39D of the Village Zoning Code to allow for the construction of a fence/gate that is 12 feet at its highest point, when the code provides that fences shall not exceed a height of 6 1/2 feet. The property is situated at section 103, block 1, lot 7, comma 10.2 and 15.2 in the Village of Cornwall and Hudson. Said lot also being known as 1-3 Riverbank Lane. The property is located in the CR-1 Conservation Residential Zoning District. And the previous public hearing remains open from last time. Basically, to summarize our previous meetings, Ms. Glendenning had presented her application, and the board had listened to their application as well as neighbors and letters, and we had requested some additional information regarding the placement and some more of the just finer details of the application. So I don't know, Ms. Glendenning, if you would like to, you presented some plans that we have in front of us. If you just want to give a brief summary of, a reintroduction to your
My
application.
understanding was that from the last time, what you wanted was a site plan.
Yes.
So we hired an engineer, and he has presented the site plan, and he's here tonight to answer any questions you have.
Okay.
The only thing I would request is, since we have a new board member, that the letters that came in before be reread, so she knows. I have copies if you want.
Sure, if you have a copy, you can hand those to me.
There are two letters.
Thank you.
I request that they be read so she can hear them.
Okay. So we have two previous letters, and it looks like there is a new additional letter, and that is all. Okay, so the two previously presented letters. One is from Karen Mogavero. Her residence is at 31 Duncan Avenue in Cornwall and Hudson. Ms. Mogavero writes, "Dear Zoning Board, I am writing in regards to Susan Glendenning erecting a new gate to her property located at 2 Riverbank Lane, Cornwall and Hudson. It is my belief that a new gate will be a wonderful addition to her property as well as an upgrade to the village. Currently, when you drive by her property, it appears as a large chain link fence with drive going somewhere. To me, it gives off the feeling of a closed and unwelcoming area of our village. I feel that a new gate located closer to the main road would add a pleasing aesthetic to our area. In addition, I think it joins with our village's current trend to beautify our town. This has been evident with new awnings at the post office, fixing up the water department, and updating the plants surrounding our village hall. Sincerely, Karen Mogavero." We have another letter from Jeanette McMahon and Michael Hauser, their residence at 9 Braden Place in Cornwall and Hudson. We are Jeanette McMahon and Michael Hauser, retired Army officers and West Point graduates and proud residents of Cornwall and Hudson. Perhaps you can accept this letter as an expression of our firm support for the application for variance from Susan Glendenning related to fencing on her property. We are very familiar with the efforts of Ms. Glendenning to beautify her property, which we view as a significant benefit for COH residents. She and her fiance, Archie Elam, also a fellow West Point graduate, are fine citizens of our community who do much for Cornwall community development. We are sure the gate entrance she has planned will be both beautiful and functional. One, its beauty will frame the entrance to one of COH's most scenic and historic spaces. It will eliminate some undesirable chain link fencing that now greets anyone approaching. Two, it will help protect an area containing scenic spaces, historic buildings, walking trails, flower gardens, lighted trees, and key spaces that are literal life support to one of America's most endangered species, the monarch butterfly. Thank you for accepting this letter, considering in your decision to grant a zoning variance to Ms. Glendenning. Sincerely, Jeanette McMahon and Michael Hauser. We have a new letter. This is dated August 10th, 2023. This is from William Hall, located at 26 River Avenue in Cornwall and Hudson. As a 40-year resident of 26 River Avenue, Cornwall and Hudson, New York, I see absolutely no need to change the 6-foot height maximum on fencing. My property directly adjoins Ms. Glendenning's properties. In fact, the home directly next door to mine is one of her rental properties on the estate. Best regards, William E. Hall, 26 River Ave. Okay, I think that's the letters that we have. I don't know if someone would like to just give a brief introduction. We all know that the main application, just if you want to modify it based on the new drawings that we have here.
Yes.
If you could just.
My name is
state your
Dennis
name.
Hudson. I'm a PE in New York State, and I'm prepared the plan and the exhibits that you have in your possession. Sheet one is just an overall site plan of the properties that Ms. Glendenning owns and controls, and notes the location of the proposed gate and columns, small vicinity map, and an enlarged plan just to indicate where the gate and columns will be located with regards to the property line itself and the current edge of pavement of River Road. The second sheet is the elevation of the proposed gate itself with masonry piers. Then the first photograph is taken from the east side of River Avenue at the start of Riverbank Road with the gate superimposed in the photograph, just to demonstrate that it is an open structure and construction. You actually can pretty much see through the majority of the gate. That's my pickup truck parked there, and you can see the existing house beyond. And then if you walk across the street to the west side of River Avenue and take the same view, again, you see how proportionally the gate appears smaller because you are further away, and it makes up a smaller area of your normal eyesight view angle. From the north and south, if you are coming north along River Avenue, the gate will generally be only slightly visible. The gate is not superimposed in that photograph, but if you take a look on either side of the trunk of the evergreen tree in the middle of that photo, you'll see two white posts. Those white posts are the reference posts at where the gate piers will be located.
I'm sorry, which photo are you?
The second line, first photo,
There, okay,
it's a view looking north along River Ave.
gotcha.
And in that photograph, the majority of the gate will be obscured by that tree.
Okay,
And then if you're traveling south on River Avenue, the gate is actually behind that piece of chain link fence on the left side. The building directly ahead of you is 30 River Avenue, which is one of the properties Ms. Glendenning owns. And then just some comparative entries in the area. 31 River Ave is almost directly across the street from the application. 151 Bayview Ave, you've got the chain link fence gates that are located there. They look to be about 8 or 10 feet high. 191 Bayview Avenue, similarly pillars with the actual entry walls in the gate. And the adjacent fence at that point also appears to be about 10 feet high. And then at 41 Bayview Avenue, that frame is a deer fence construction to keep the critters out of that garden. So what we are requesting is the variance from section 17239D to install the gate and the support pillars. The fencing would be a 6.5-foot height limit. We're requesting 12 foot at the maximum top finial of the gate itself. A black deer fence on the Riverbank Road line at a 10-foot height that will replace the existing chain link fence on that side. And then a relocation of the chain link fence to the right or the south side of the proposed gate so that there can be a nicer planting area established in that location. And one of the interesting things that we were noting in section 17239D is the fact that that exclusion for the yards relates to both, or all rather, retaining walls, masonry walls, and fences.
I'm sorry, what section are you referring to?
172-39D.
The, okay, the one that we're seeking the variance for.
Correct. But interesting to note in that section is that also notes retaining walls and masonry walls in addition to fences. Only fences are restricted to a 6.5-foot height under that section. a retaining wall or a masonry wall could conceivably be constructed at almost any height.
Okay. I mean, that's open to interpretation. I would say because it's including a retaining wall, it's referring to something that's necessary structurally to.
Understandable, but retaining wall and masonry wall in that section are actually listed separately,
Okay.
which is why I had that discussion with Manny earlier this evening.
Yeah.
And we're here because I couldn't get Manny to agree to what I was looking at in the code, because in both the CR1 and the CS district, because a portion of this property is also, I'm sorry, the suburban residential district, fences are permitted as an accessory use. And in those two sections of the code where it lists fences as an accessory use, there's no reference back to the limitations of 17239D.
Okay.
So that's really where we're at.
Okay.
And we hope
just
that you like it. I will, however, throw one caution out there. As far as the colors of the masonry facing on the pier, bear in mind, I'm an engineer. I am aesthetically challenged.
You got it.
Those colors could be a little more muted and brown so that they blend in a little better with the background as well.
Understood. No.
Thank you very much.
I think you have pictures of the proposed.
Yes, we do. I was hoping to just get just a couple more details on the site plan that you have here. So, could you show us where on the you have an existing gate, correct?
Yeah, the existing gate is further into the property if you take a look at actually.
I saw that.
This is the right way from Riverbank Road. This is another easement that runs all the way out to River Road to serve properties in the back, which Ms. Glendenning is also. The existing gate is further back into the.
Do you know where it is though? Like, is it
I
here or is
didn't-
it here?
Oh, no, it's out here. It's about 40, 50 feet past this gate. It's right at this access, this easement.
Okay.
I can get a better location for it and add it to the.
Okay, but generally it's
Yeah, it is further into the property. But one of the things is that unless you're actually standing at Riverbank Road and looking in along Riverbank Road, the gate and pillars will be hardly noticeable. And if you're driving by, you're not going to notice them.
okay. And then, just because the property has an interesting configuration, there's multiple structures. Your main house is at the end of the drive in what's labeled 3 Riverbank Lane.
2 Riverbank,
2 Riverbank.
2 and 3, I don't know.
It's like back here.
I'm just trying to figure out how you have the drive. It comes in. There's a driveway for.
Actually, it shows a little bit better on the vicinity map. This is 1 Riverbank. This is the house that you actually see in the photograph.
Yep.
All right. Then 2 Riverbank is actually the large lot that surrounds everything. And that is Ms. Glendenning's home. 3 Riverbank is this
Okay.
parcel in the center.
What's the structure then?
Single-family residence.
Okay. But Ms. Glendenning doesn't live there.
No, she lives in 2. These structures, we didn't have an updated survey, so we weren't able to put these 2 structures on. We can probably.
So there's another
No, the structure 2.
structures here, structure here.
Yeah, you've got 2 structures here. The existing house on 1 Riverbank Lane. This area is all undeveloped, wooded.
Okay. Oh, right. This is down. The stream is there.
Right.
It's downhill and wooded.
Yes.
Okay. So there's a house here, house here. They're accessed, I assume, by
That's
these.
by that driveway, yeah. And then the house here.
And there's a house here. It's accessed by a drive.
Yeah.
Here. And then there's another that's 30 River Ave, and that's accessed by a
That's
driveway
actually-
that's
The driveway is
kinda like right
right in
here.
here, yeah. Probably should have dropped an aerial photograph.
Pull it up on Google.
You guys have a,
Yeah.
see what I was just trying to figure out exactly
Yeah,
what's
I'm
in here.
familiar with it, yeah.
Okay, if anyone is here from the public would like to voice an opinion, please just introduce
Gary
it.
Carrassi of 42 River Avenue.
Okay.
I'd like to address first the two letters that you received. Those are not initial neighbors.
Right, they're within Cornwall and Hudson, but not adjacent.
Someone who lives-
Yes.
So my property is adjacent to, she's up here on the hill, and then maybe we got the whole gate going around, and then there's a part on my side. But I'm glad you mentioned the existing gate that's already there. The
Yes.
one where you can't get through unless you contact somebody in the house, it's got the code and all that. Because there was already a problem with Airbnb and the police couldn't get in. And that was it. They couldn't get in, nobody let them in through the existing gate that's already there. So I don't understand what the purpose of another gate is that's close to the road, very close to the road. So there's already cars that park, double park.
Mhm.
And there's that hill, which you come down River Avenue, and there's always a double parked car there, and that's just an accident waiting to happen. And now with the fence, what's the purpose of the fence? Because there's already a fence, and now there will be another fence.
Okay, yes, we'll
And,
ask.
So, just one anecdote.
Okay.
I'll be short. So 22 years ago, when I moved in, I drove up with my wife. It was a surprise that I bought the house. My wife had no clue.
Oh, boy.
Mrs. Glendenning was in my macadam, that's what they call it. Standing in the macadam, get out of the car. She walks right up to me and my wife and says, "You see this fence? This is my fence. You cannot build higher than 6 feet." That was the first thing that I heard. And then my wife's looking at me because she doesn't know I just bought this house for her.
Okay, well, I think we need
So
to
I
keep,
never forgot about
need to keep the comments directly related to the application at
Right, so
hand.
why would I agree to build a 12-foot fence?
Well, a gate.
Why is it necessary to have that fence to keep people out, right?
Okay. So your opinion as a neighbor, an adjacent neighbor is, are you for or against the application?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Absolutely for or against?
Against it.
Against it, okay.
Right. 2018, that storm that just passed, tree fell down on her fence, right? Destroyed a portion of the fence. She sued me for her fence and collected insurance money.
Okay, well, again, we need to keep it just germane to the application.
Well,
At
that's about
hand.
the fence.
So
It's
just
about
to-
fencing.
Just to summarize,
Yeah.
you're not in favor of,
I'm not in favor of it, but I'm giving you the reasons why.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanna know why there needs to be a second fence, which is close to the road. It's gonna be a problem.
okay. All right, well, thank you very much.
Hopefully, to answer the question, so the purpose is to replace the existing gate and to create an estate-type entrance to the property using something that is significantly more aesthetic than the existing chain link fence gate.
Okay.
And this is not a complete fence to the property, it's a gate that is 14 feet here approximately from pier to pier.
Mhm.
And the height was established based upon the aesthetic and the look of proportionality of the gate itself. And the width of the driveway being 10 foot, you get about 14 feet between the two pillars. And then the gate was designed around those parameters. so that it looks good.
Okay. Okay, so the location of the gate, as opposed to the existing location, is in reference, you think it has a better aesthetic, you prefer to have it,
So it's a better aesthetic overall for the property, and it creates an entrance at the beginning or the start of the property, rather than having your entrance 100 feet in.
Right. The other thing is, the way it is now, one of the houses that we own is on the National Register of Historic Places and the State Register of Historic Places. In order to keep the deer out, we have to have a fence going in front of this national treasure by putting the gate up closer to the road. And by the way, there's plenty of space for UPS trucks, fire trucks, we've measured all of it. But by having it up further, we can take down the ugly fence in front of the national treasure and have it be more beautiful and more accessible.
okay. You said that the fence is only, the existing gate is only like 50 feet back from where it
It's a
is.
little further back, actually.
The existing gate is, if you take a look at the existing gate is almost back to, getting closer to this house. So it is a little bit further back.
Okay.
I will get you.
And what house are you referring to?
No,
The
it's one riverbank.
Number one,
Well, actually,
which is
one and two
this lot.
riverbank are on the National Register of Historic
this
Places.
lot is number one and this is number two. So this is a listed structure and these are listed structures.
is there anything preventing you from just taking the fence down now?
Yes, because we can't have deer come into the property and eat the historic gardens.
Yeah, they're coming into my property because you removed that.
All right,
whole-
that's fine.
Excuse me?
Let's make sure we address all comments to the board.
Yes. Okay, the proposed gate, how does it operate? Which direction do the gates open? They open out or in towards the property?
The gates would open in towards the property.
Okay.
Control of the keypad.
Yeah,
And it would be controlled with keypad access.
and the police and the fire department already have the code.
And then within the confines of this gate, there are four subdivided properties?
3. 1, 2, and 3 Riverbank Road. The gate, half the driveway access to 30 River Ave, and the last lot is actually on Church Street.
Just kind of looking at the dimensions on the plan, they seem kind of a little random. It's 45 feet from, is that the center line
No,
of,
that's the edge of pavement at the start of Riverbank Road. And then it's approximately 25 feet from that property corner because the River Road right of way is relatively wide.
and it says it's 25 feet from, what is that? It's just a,
That is actually the property corner that adjoins number 2 Riverbank and 30 River Ave.
is that, if you could just show us on the image. Is that, I can't see this upside down.
I'm good at reading things upside down.
This. Is it 25 feet from that corner?
No, the actual, when you come out, you take a look on here. 30 River Ave is the rectangular lot, and then 2 Riverbank comes all the way down as a small jog comes in, and it's a very strange configuration of property. Because it starts here and then wraps all the way around. So, this photograph, the 25-foot point, because this is the driveway of 30 River Ave that comes out to here. That point is about here, and then this is taken from the edge of River Road. And so you've got 45 feet from here to here, and 25 feet from here to here. Yeah. Actually,
That's like,
yeah, it's a, yeah.
out here.
Mhm.
Again, I mean, you know, we've demonstrated that from either approach on River Road.
Yep.
The gate is generally out of your field of vision.
So the opening mechanism, the motor and all that, where will that be housed? Where will how will those be? Because they're
Yeah,
not shown
is it
on the.
automated or is it manual?
It'll be, it's gonna be a keypad control with an electric motor, and the gates would swing in, and that mechanism would be mounted behind the piers so that they're not visible from the street.
Manny, is there any, one thing I'm looking at is that because the property is subdivided. I mean, right, currently it's owned by one person, but there's nothing that, in the future, it could be sold, could be, have different people living in there. Is there any issue with having a security lock on a gate that encloses someone else's property?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
You're basically setting up it's like a gated community situation where currently you own all the properties, but if you were to sell the property, someone else is the owner, they could sell off the different properties because already subdivided. There's no reason why it couldn't just be 3 single-family homeowners in there, and then there's a security gate that's controlling what's basically a private road.
There's already one.
But I'm sure people would like that.
There's already one.
In a case like that, if the property gets sold to somebody else, they would have to have their own entrance, individual entrance, so part of the sale or whatever agreement would require that to be removed so that they can have free, access to their property.
So say this was here, the property is, in the future, is sold to separate entities, this would have to be taken down?
Or the gate will have to be open to the point where the other person will have the same assets.
Well, why would they have to be open, Manny, if all of the properties are
This issue currently
accessed by
exists.
Riverbank
This
Road,
issue currently exists
then
on the property.
that right of access would
2
not
of
be
the homes,
for two
I
of
think
them.
she has a gate for 2
all
of
of
them.
the
Yeah.
property owners taking access from
It's just this one
Riverbank
that's not
Road.
affected, but
Would
3
be
other homes in here,
entitled
the
to
2 on one
access
property and
and
that one.
the use of the gate.
That's what I said, yeah, either
Just where it's
remove
like
or they actually have access so they can enter to that
We didn't
same
rule on
gate,
that,
yeah.
That's our question.
Manny, would you agree it would really be more of an encumbrance issue for any future buyers than a code issue?
Correct.
Okay.
And Manny, we went over this in the previous meetings. I don't totally remember I don't wonder if you do. Do you know what the vehicle requirements are for, say if this gate is closed, it's locked, something happens, fire truck needs to get in there. Do you know what the clearance needs to be?
The dimension for a fire truck, it could even be 10 feet depending on which truck, but ideally it's 26 feet for a fire truck to access road. One is not required for a single family dwelling unless the house is more than 150 feet from the road. I'm not sure this one meets that requirement, but on top of that, this is a pre-existing condition. We can request that to be done, for them to widen the road now, this particular house. If it was to be built more than 150 feet from the road, then a fire access road will be required where they turn around.
Okay.
I think you're asking about depth, right?
Yeah,
as
I'm
opposed
more
to-
concerned like something shows up, a fire truck goes to the entrance, the gate has to be opened.
Sir,
Is it gonna block anything? Or a delivery truck, I mean, I don't know.
That's why we set it back 45 feet.
But see, the problem is it's set back 45 feet from it's 45 feet from the center line of
For the edge of pavement, not the
River
sidewalk.
Ave, but there's another driveway in there. It's like
That's the
a,
driveway to 30, number 30. River
right,
Road.
it's not in the way at all.
but it's
But
still a
the-
driveway needs to be
all of the
accessed.
Emergency services companies will have an access code to that gate.
They currently have, the police and the fire have the code.
Actually, if you could just introduce your name and address, sorry, that's formality.
I'm Susan Glendenning. The police and the fire now
have the code to get into the gate. They've had it forever. There's never been of course I want the police to come into my property if there's a problem, or the fire department to come in, of course. So it will be no different if we have the new gate. They will also, again, have the codes to get in anytime they want.
I'm more concerned about because the gate is being proposed to be so close to the road.
It's not that close.
I mean, where it is now, you could pull 3 fire trucks in there and it wouldn't affect anyone else. But
No, but
once you move it closer to the road, it
then
suddenly
they'll
becomes
open the gate and come in the same way that they could if there was no gate there.
Is there any reason why the new gate can't be placed where the
Yes,
existing gate is now?
yes, because we want to open up the beauty of the home that's on the National Historic Register of Historic Places. We don't want an ugly chain link fence in front of a house that's a treasure.
But it's your chain link fence, you put it up.
Yeah, it's ugly. We hate it. That's why we want to move it.
I mean, you could replace it with something else.
We've done that. It's still ugly. We wanted to have beautiful gardens and there's plenty of room from the road to the gate for all we've measured everything. The fire department has been down there. We've double checked with them more than once. They open the gate, they can still go in as if the gate was further back. It's all open for them to use anytime they want. In fact, we're quite hospitable whenever the fire department has their circus or that thing there. We let them, their fireworks, we let them come there and park there. They've done it a million times for many, many years. So we're not asking for anything that they haven't done or had before.
Okay, it's just the gate is now basically on the road.
No, but it's not on the road.
Well, where it is now, you can't see it. So now that
Can't see the new one either from what we're showing you.
Well, no, I mean, you can see it pretty clearly. It's right on the road.
Could you explain it's not on the road?
Well, I mean, we have
It is well off, and
there are areas where you can't see it.
Quite
but
honestly,
still.
absent a tractor trailer, there's nothing that's going to be blocking River Avenue in the time it takes to punch a key code in and have that gate open. You got 45 feet, there are very few vehicles that are total length over 45 feet. Or even 45 feet.
Mhm.
Telling the fire chief that.
The variance is just for the height,
It
correct?
is-
Not
it's
for
for the
any of
It is
the
for the height, but the
Right.
location of it affects how prominent the variance for the height is.
Oh my God.
If it's back away from public view,
Well, we did tend
What is-
to take
what
that
is the
into
harm?
account as well, and quite honestly, if you're, looking at the evaluation factors for an area variance, I do not see in any way, shape, or form how this gate would produce any undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to any nearby properties. Okay? The benefit sought by the applicant is simple. They're trying to create a formalized entrance to the overall property. The best place to do that is at the entrance to the property. That's the reason that the location is chosen. We do not believe that the variance is substantial, given the amount of property that's controlled by the applicant. And although we're asking for 12 foot versus 6.5 foot, which is a limitation for a fence, and this is a formal gate. So there is a little bit of a differential. The variance for the fence is the pier fence, and the relocation of the section of chain link fence.
So if I could just interrupt there.
Planting area.
So Manny's already determined that the gate falls under section 173, 17239D, meaning that it qualifies as a fence.
Right.
So that, as far as whether the gate's a fence or something else, that's not
I think-
an issue right
I think
now.
the issue that seems to be struggling is its relative position to the road
Yes.
and how that is a factor.
So that could be a condition of the approval.
Well, no, I'm not even asking about, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, I mean, is that something we, or should even be considering, because the variance is for the height, and there is no, there was no, and we went through this in the last meeting, discussion of placement, of a gate or a fence.
Right.
There's no setback, there's nothing that describes where that has to be.
Right.
So its location, I'm just questioning, should that be in our consideration in its exactness, or is that something that we consider based on the visual impact, the impact on the neighborhood? And so if it's not necessarily a determination of the specific distance within a setback, then are we to then consider its relative distance based on the height and the visual impact that may have? And that would then be independent of any distance. And so then deciding whether it should be 45, 50, or 55 feet somewhat seems arbitrary.
Well, I think you can consider it based on the visual impact, with any other variance, aesthetics and impact on neighboring properties is a relevant consideration, and whether you can see something from the road or the neighbors can see it versus something that's way back and only visible to the property owner, I think is a valid consideration.
I just don't know that we have, the ability to say, well, okay, 12 feet at 50 feet, 12 feet high at 50 feet, oh, that's much better than 12 feet at 45 feet.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say,
It needs to be 80 feet.
He just has to understand the whole
impact to
thing's
the-
not 12
to
feet.
the
It's just
environment, the neighborhood.
Right.
They understand that?
Right on the property line,
do.
it's a substantial impact. If it's pushed back,
Right, and this one's 45 feet, which is, that's a good distance. But I don't know, 48's better, or should it be 46 and a half, so anyhow, that's, but I think that the concern is, again, the impact on the neighborhood. This becomes our discussion, so I think I'm doing this, my closed discussion comments right now, during open, but yeah. But I wanted to just get that clarity from John, so. Joseph, no. Today.
One of these days I'll get my own plaque.
What'd you say?
do we have any more questions?
I'm just, I'm still just uneasy and concerned about the mechanism for opening it and where that will be located and how that changes the view, or, this is a 14-foot wide gap, it's a 12-foot high fence, we're talking several hundred pounds of metal, and.
Yes, it will, but you can mount all of that
Okay.
hardware
Underground?
onto the backside of those piers. The
Right.
piers are gonna be 2.5 foot square.
Okay. Right.
They will be more than capable of holding all of the mechanical, motor, and equipment.
So I mount basically right in
And
Okay.
and also, in fact, it's not really a 14-foot wide gate, it's 7-foot leaps.
Yeah.
That will open into
Yep.
the property.
Okay.
All right. And then another question I would have is the height of, like, currently you're showing the height of the piers at 10 foot 11 feet, at 10 foot 11 inches, and the highest point of the fence at 12 feet tall. But we went through this at a previous meeting, but just using the room that we're in as a reference, that would put the height of the fence at taller than the ceiling in here.
Not the height of the fence.
Height of the gate. The high point of the gate will be higher than the ceiling in here. And the piers themselves would be higher than this room.
How high is this, do you think?
Yeah. So it'll be, the ceiling's probably 10 feet. That's what, 7?
Yeah.
The door, so that's 9. So it's a good foot. It's almost 2 feet above the.
Well, I think when you're in this room, when you think of it, it seems one way, but when you're
Yes, I
out
mean,
with
it's
all the
definitely a different,
acreage and the trees,
a different
it looks terrible,
context.
totally different.
I did have that thought. I mean, when I looked at the photos the first time when I got this in my house, it was the photo of that first representation where it's on the property. It's hard to judge really how high that is.
Yeah.
Right, because the trees are
Right.
80 feet high.
Because close to the top of the gate, your eyes are really not looking completely at the gate because you've got the tree branches and everything else overhanging it. So you're actually not seeing the entire portion of the gate. A portion of it is shielded by the vegetation around it as well.
Oh, no, I'm just gonna go I'm looking at it.
And then the width,
I'm
it's
tall.
14 feet, the gate is 14 feet,
tall.
and then you have 2'6"
6 feet.
piers at either end, so
So,
that's a total of 19 feet. It's a-
Well, the existing driveway is 10 feet paved.
Mhm.
So
There's a 2 foot on either side to allow for the hinge dimension and to allow for any emergency access and everything else, and have plenty of clearance to get any emergency vehicle through there.
It's really enormous. It's a really
Well, our
big gate.
property is enormous though, too. You know, the area is enormous with beautiful
I
trees.
know, but the neighborhood isn't. It's sort of smaller houses leading up to it.
Well, one house across the two houses across the way are
The
huge.
photograph there is the entrance to the house that's actually across the street and slightly north, with that wide driveway and the walls. and
Right, but they
the
don't have,
driveway.
now say this,
And
you put a gate up, what's gonna stop them from saying, I want a gate that big too? I have a grand house myself. That's kind of the problem that we're dealing with. It's,
I think
No,
the
but
difference
they're
is,
reviewing the specifics of this particular piece of property. That property across the street is not as large a parcel. It's new construction versus the
Newer.
historic buildings that you have on this site. So they're really not comparable parcels.
but is there a, is there a,
Sir, please.
Let's make sure everyone's,
Please. Please what?
all right, that's just direct all questions or comments to the board. Okay.
all right, let's, from now, everyone who wants to speak, please come up to the podium and speak.
We need to figure out what's unique about your property that we can make an exception to the variance for the zoning law for the entire neighborhood. Why should your specific property be different than the next door neighbor's property or the one across the street that we should grant a variance? It's basically what it boils down to.
Well, if I may, you've got the fact that you have 3 related properties within that area. You have an exceptionally large combination area-wise with those 3 properties combined. And you have historic structures. You have a significant portion of the properties that are undisturbed at this point, wooded in the stream, and you're aware of the property characteristics. So there are several factors that set this parcel well apart from any of the surrounding parcels that would justify the variance.
I think from an aesthetic standpoint, it'll stand in stark contrast, though, to the decrepit chain link fence that surrounds the property. I mean, it's falling down in places, and cyclone fencing, et cetera, is rather, it's rather ugly. Yeah, it just
A
is.
piece of the chain
Right.
link fence is also intended to be replaced with a
Intended, I
fence.
understand.
So that
intended.
will eliminate a portion of that fence. And then
Well, we heard it was gonna be replaced with deer fence,
Yes.
which is a mesh,
A black mesh.
black mesh fence that will be 6 to 8 feet high. I forget why. I think it's 6 feet there because the slope on the back, so we're not so worried about deer jumping over that. But, well, earlier it was 6, so 10 is new. That was an introduction at this meeting, when compared to
And
the
so,
last one.
so if I could just interrupt on that
What?
too. So the public hearing notice is only for the gate.
Right. And one of the issues that came up last time is that they have the 6.5-foot fence on which an extension has been put on, which wasn't permitted.
Right.
Okay, and so that's something that likely needs to be remedied as well. I mean,
Right.
but,
And that's Manny's
and that's on the east
call
side of the property.
to address that. But as far as any new fencing that's being approved tonight, the only
The only thing on here is the
is the
gate.
gate.
And so, I mean, that doesn't prevent them from replacing what's there with 6-foot
Sure.
mesh deer fence. But
Right.
anything above that would be, we're not approving that. That's not what's on the right.
Correct.
I wanted to clarify that, so thank you. Yeah, I don't see how that really improves the aesthetic either. Wrought iron, now that would look cool, because that would go with what's there, and, that's consistent with the,
What's he saying?
the property. Nice wrought iron fence, because that's what you have the gate on. But to just say that somehow we've improved the aesthetic by taking down the cyclone and the chain link fence and putting up a black mesh deer fence.
Actually, the fence that we're wanting to put up is not mesh, it's metal. It's stronger than mesh because
Okay, no.
the animals chew
Right,
through.
and black, you're right, does not stand out as bright as the galvanized steel cyclone fence, et cetera. I understand that, but it's just,
Eliminating the galvanized
right,
chain link with a.
it's just kind of, feels slippery to say that, that somehow that's improving the aesthetic. Well, yes, it is, but it's not really tying it in with the National Historic Property. Okay, and saying that we've got this beautiful National Historic Property that needs this proper fence and gate, and this gate, but then we're gonna put up
Yeah,
even other places surrounding it, the galvanized metal fence.
I think you
Just a
don't have
hollow
the,
argument.
excuse me, but I don't think you have the location correct. In front of the National Register House, there will be no fencing, no deer fencing, no black, no green, orange, whatever. It's clear on the other side that we're taking down the chain link fence and setting the black deer fence much deeper in, so it will be even less visible.
Could you put a gate up that is 6.5 feet high?
Excuse me?
Could you put a gate up that's 6.5 feet high?
Well, we went through that before. No, remember, because the deer jump over 6.5 feet. Remember,
But
the
the problem
man
is,
called.
that every single person in this village has deer that
Don't
come and
jump
eat their
over.
flowers.
Put up a fence then.
I have a 6-foot fence and I've never had a deer in my backyard.
Well, I mean, if we we can't approve a variance for your property because deer are gonna eat the flowers unless we open it up to every single person in the entire village having a taller fence.
And wouldn't it make sense, and this is not a place for you guys to write because you don't write the code, but wouldn't it make sense to have the code set a height that lines up with the research on deer and other critters' ability to breach what you built there to prevent?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good point, but we don't write, we're not,
No, I'm not asking you to write the code, but I'm saying it just as
the
part of the
zoning
thinking.
code.
Yeah,
We are
Remember
just-
last time, one of the board members called Siri and she said the deer jump 8 feet? Remember that?
Yes.
That was me, I did that.
Well, actually, I also did a little bit of research on that. The average white-tailed deer can jump 8 to 10 feet. There have been reported cases, if they are fleeing predators, that they can make 12 to 15 feet with a running start.
Right, but what I'm saying is, I can't, as my vote, I can't approve your variance because of deer. I can't allow you to have a taller fence than everyone else in the village. There needs to be something that is specific to your property that is different from other
Well,
properties
We do
that
have,
allows,
okay, we do
there to be
have
variance.
certified historic gardens, and we also have gardens for the endangered monarch butterflies. So,
With regards to the overall variance, the gate has been designed in proportion based upon the width of the driveway, adequate clearance for a fire truck, and the height to width proportionality of the gate to establish a formalized entrance to this property. I mean, I can put that into the record, and the deer are almost irrelevant, given the fact that the gate itself is being designed to create a formal entrance to the property. The deer aside.
okay, so the intention is to have a formal entrance to the property.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, and another piece of history for you. There are 2 sites on the Underground Railroad on that property.
we were just on national television because of that.
One of them was owned by the first abolitionist in Orange County. If you find the book Silent Rebellion, it is the 1800s history of Orange County. That's part of where it's recorded. So the protection of that history and more, we've got things underground that what's Link's, he's an archaeologist, Link, that are yet to be discovered. He thinks there's prehistoric stuff down toward the river end, etc.
And that's,
So-
not, by the way, that whole site, we're working with an archaeologist, that's also on the National Register of Historic Places.
That's the pottery site.
Only one left in New York State that's been undisturbed.
Yeah. So the protection of that history, not deer, not the critters, it is preserving something that can't be reproduced, found, developed, constructed anywhere else. It's here. If you don't take care of it, it goes away and you can't get it back. That's what's in front of us. It's not the deer and the critters and all that. That's fine. And for the record, my name's Archie Elam. I live at 3 Riverbank Lane. I'm about to get married to Susan in about a week. So
Thank you.
Manny, are you familiar with 191 Bayview Avenue, the one that's on there, the other gate? Do you know how tall that gate and fence are? Do you know if there's a variance for that, or? I've been by it many times.
I've been by that. I never researched it.
Okay.
Once did you show him that other picture I gave you from New Windsor?
Yeah. Almost 30-year-old house, and I think they put the gate, I remember when they put the motorized gate, that was about 10 years ago, so.
So just to summarize, based on what your statement before, that you're saying that you feel that the variance is worthwhile and should be granted because of the history of the property,
historical value.
the current gardens, just the overall significance of the houses and the property. And therefore, it should be allowed to have a grander entrance via the gate.
Yes, because it's really significant to be on the National and State Register of Historic Places.
Yeah. And that points to economic activity opportunity for the town. Right? Something I know you guys know, the connection between art and economic development.
And
So
So how does one access the gardens, these beautiful gardens? I've not been there, so.
Call me up, you're welcome to come.
yep, come off Riverland Avenue, Riverbank Lane, stop at the gate, wave, we'll let you in, and off you go.
And
But Mr. Finn, just to answer your original question, and I've been in your position, not necessarily as a board member, but as a technical consultant. Manny will tell you, I spent 26 years with the town of Lordstown. The answer to your question is yes.
okay, gotcha.
What was the question you're answering yes to?
His original question of why yours is a particular property and is it being done for the aesthetic of the property and the historic nature of the property? The answer is yes.
Thank you.
Because actually, I noticed that you also advertised this meeting to end at 8 o'clock, so.
Yep. Wishful.
I'm hoping that I can ask you for a favorable vote on the amendment site plan if you provide the additional information you asked.
Good. And then the reason that you want to move, instead of replacing the existing gate that you have there now, and you want to move it closer to the street, is because you would like to remove the fencing that is in front of
The historic.
the historic home. That's detracting from its aesthetic value. And I'm looking on the site plan, and the property, the property line of the subdivision that has the historic home is set back. I mean, I don't have a distance on here, but it's set back a fair distance back from where you're showing the gate, or proposing the gate. Is there any way you can move it back to that point? That way you would remove the fence in front of the historic home, and it would, by moving the gate back, it would sort of lessen the impact to the
But as
surrounding
Don has
environment?
shown you, you cannot see the gate when you drive either direction.
Well, I would say that's not true.
Yeah, I believe we can see it. I mean, I think we all. Yes, that has some obscuring forces on it, but it's definitely going to be visible. So Kevin.
Oh, yeah. I really don't want to.
This, they want to preserve the view. This thing's set back like.
Say that again? Can we compromise? Can you read it for, though, that they,
Jonathan, do you know, in the zoning code for the village, I should know this, but I don't, or Manny, maybe you know this as well, is there a special zoning district for historic properties?
No. Not a special zoning district, no.
Conservation, what was that? CS,
Yeah.
Can you try a fourth time with the town?
Conservation residential.
Properties located in the conservation residential zoning district, CR1, what is conservation, what does that mean? What does conservation mean in that?
It has different requirement, additional requirements.
But it's not related to historic
It's
preservation?
not related to that, no.
It's like the general.
Yeah.
Got it, okay.
The whole area is that.
Sometimes you get a zoning, it's just one property is
Yeah,
its own
okay.
district.
All right.
And has different rules. Does one go into private?
Yeah.
Go into a private,
An
meeting?
attorney-client
Yes.
session, sure.
Do we need to close the public meeting first?
Well, if you want to open it up to the public one more time, then you could close the public hearing, if you want.
Why don't we leave it open?
Okay. All right. So if you just want to make a motion to go into an attorney-client session,
Yep, motion to go into attorney-client session.
and
Oh, second.
I assume everyone's in favor.
We're gonna have to step
Aye.
out when they go to this attorney.
All right, we're just gonna discuss something for 5 minutes and.
They got to look. Hit the,
And I can't stop the streaming, so just.
You're entertained.
Yeah.
Working, very busy. Getting ready to train, the little now that I have, I said, after him.
So, just so I have names right. Okay.
James Moore.
James Moore.
M-O-O-R.
And you are the part-time, okay, or assistant building.
Round them up with a title, yeah, but assistant code enforcement officer. Yeah, put that.
Okay.
Assistant
Code.
code enforcement officer. Situation like this, the chair, he's sitting president. Yes. And he's not. He never felt president. He can never look at somebody when he goes to approve this, maybe I can do it like that. No. As long as it's not based, every single application gotta hold its own weight. Yep. You gotta look at that application for that particular property.
My file's totally small.
And yes, you gotta look at the neighborhood, how that's the affecting the negative, that's the other negative impact on the neighborhood. That's something they can look at, how can we be negative to the neighborhood? But not, just because I approve you, that's the negative.
No, you won't interrupt me.
I can't. That, the attorney probably could do that. My job here is only to, when it comes to code. Now, if he says something that is against the code, then that's a different story. Yeah, then I said, no, that's not the section of the code, or that's not what the code says. So I couldn't interrupt for that, but that of looking at the project, I was so married, something that we learned through the training that I got to go through, being a member. You know, I can't help it, wrong by thinking that.
So they have that fence, that great fence, was without permit.
said, I mean, that was way before my time. She said she has some money.
can't hold that against you.
Nah, but I gotta look about it, looking at.
Okay.
And I didn't write that as a violation because, you know, sometimes I've been there for many years. You know, I can't come now and say, well, you never got a permit for that.
Now, when they say rear fence, is it, like you said, that to me, it's your fence. Your rear fence be anything?
Be anything.
Okay.
But now, if she's gonna put up a different fence, another location, then that's a separate permit.
Yeah.
He didn't make that part of his application, so if she gets approved tonight, it'll be there for the gate. Now, when she's ready to put up that additional fence.
Does she have to take a permit to take down that fence that goes up without?
She can take it down, she can take it down on her apartment. She don't have to.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
if you wanna put one up, that you can do.
Okay.
So it's a good chance that if the fence that you're gonna put up is more than 6.5, she's gonna have to come right back over here.
Yeah.
She should have made it all part of the same
Yeah,
application.
same
She didn't.
permit, yeah.
So it would have been looking at both.
Yeah, and then like on your side, you could use, it's almost like gate to a portion of property. Most of the one across the street.
Yeah, exactly. It is, I agree, it is a very large property.
Yeah.
It's a high fence, but look at the size of the property.
And
It's huge,
how far back is it from the main road?
25 feet,
25?
actually 45.
Yeah, kind of
From the edge of the road is 45. And then from the edge of the driveway that goes to the other house, that's 25.
Okay. Got it.
So this is the lot line of the other house that she owns, that's the lot line. So from that lot line, so that means the driveway from this house is clear.
Mhm.
They can get in, the fence, you know, is 25 feet from there, so you still have a car or a truck, 25 feet long, that could be there waiting to get in, and not interfere with the entrance. And then we come on the fire truck, it's not really, it's a single family road.
Yeah.
You know, they wanna put up a gate, if there is a fire, they're gonna break that,
Yeah, go right
they're
through.
gonna break that.
Give me a loan or something, right?
They're gonna break that gate.
What is the goal from the road?
There is none.
There,
You could be right on the edge of your line, of the property line.
and that would have to come to, this one is the problem.
If she puts up a fence on the property line that is 6.5 feet in height, she doesn't have to be there.
Okay.
She could put it right there at 6.5 feet.
No, and it doesn't have to be 5 feet.
It'd be right on the property line. Now, it cannot be beyond the property line, but on the property line, she could put up a fence 6.5 feet high. Okay, she's fine. She just needs a permit from me.
And this door, basically, there's no exception.
No, I mean, there's no exception for that. I mean, she's putting that in, you know, for the purpose of what you want to hear, but not that.
And endangered.
Yeah, that's for them to consider the reason why she's doing it. Just like you said, just because she's doing that, protecting herself from deer, I can't approve the variance just for deer, because everybody has a problem with it. So that's when you say, well, no, it's not just the deer, it's the historical this, historical that, the garden, the house. But, you know, the point that I want, you know, so everything that he said is going to be in the right. If they decide, let's say she goes tonight, that's what it's going on, 78, and she has to take it to the Supreme Court to challenge their decision.
Supreme Court from New York.
Yeah, and the judge that's listening to the case hears that comment that he made, so throw it out. Because that's not one of the things that should be okay. Just because I have proof and I have proof. That's the statement that you keep that to yourself.
Yeah.
And making your decision.
That's when he said it should be exposed.
Well, if you feel that way inside, you just won't know. Everybody else will know it. And don't make a statement like that. I'm not encouraging.
Yeah.
It could be overturned.
So it's in like in between all the fence, 10 feet or more.
Retaining wall could be as high as the, there's no need. Yeah, it's needed, because that retaining wall, you don't know how high it is, the mountain could be way up there. Yeah, it's what you retain.
But how does the fence go? I thought the fence was under, I thought they were
6.5.
Yeah. Well, he was trying to say, no, it's a fence where you know, same arm.
Well, it is in the same article, but it says that it's only restriction for the fence. We're talking about this one right here. But it said, let's see.
Double question.
Right here, exception to the yard requirement. The following shall be exempt shall be exemption to the job requirement. If you go to D, it says retaining wall, fence, or masonry wall. Same
Oh,
code.
okay, I see.
But, you know, it says that there's exception to those. But then it goes to say fences, although it's included here, fences shall not exceed 6.5. But now retaining wall and masonry wall could be quite high.
Yeah.
But of course, you're not gonna use a retaining wall or a masonry wall. So
Take off. Yeah.
So you're talking about here.
So this is the historic. Move back
I see what
to
you're saying.
here.
Yeah. So this is the property line.
This is an easement.
Sorry,
So this,
you went all the way back to here.
not here. That's where it is now.
A second.
House here.
Not the historic property,
No,
right?
right, but there's a house here. So, yeah. So,
Okay.
case number, no discussion.
Yeah.
Well, it's here.
Right.
Here's a house, here's a
Robin,
yeah.
it's the reporter. That's the minutes. She runs the,
All right. So just, we had a discussion together, just saying that I'm not comfortable with approving the application the way it is right now,
that's a real.
with the size of the gate and the location. But I found a lot of your arguments on why it should be approved very compelling, that it's a historic property, it has value both as an historic property and for the beauty of the property itself and the gardens and the area. And the reason that you wish to put the gate where it is to remove the fencing from where it is currently, to expose the historic property, get the fencing out of the way, and to beautify the historic property. One thing that I noticed is that the historic property that you're talking about is set back a fair distance from where the gate is proposed. Would you be open to moving the location of the gate back farther in the property to where sort of the historic area of the greater property begins, which is where, what is it, 2? It's,
One Riverbank Lane is the,
That's one riverbank. There is an impediment to that in that if you move the gate field, see on the vicinity map and on the plan, the entry drive, Riverbank Road actually comes in and takes a slight bend.
yes.
So if you move the gate back significantly, you're going to start engaging that bend. So if somebody is coming in, they're not going to see the gate and potentially not stop at it. Secondarily, with the bend in the road, that may impede emergency vehicle access, because now your emergency vehicle, particularly a fire truck, which is slightly longer than a delivery truck or a UPS truck, is going to be on the turn going through the gate. So it kind of interferes with free and clear emergency access to move it back much further. I mean, we could probably move it back another 5 or 8 feet without any great difficulty, but once you get a little further back than that, you start impacting the accessibility through some of the emergency services.
is that because of the bend in the road or?
There's a slight bend in the
Yeah.
road.
So, I mean, anywhere in front of the bend, but farther back. Because I mean, I think that, yeah, I think the other element that's come up before was to your point that stray vehicles that stray down the lane, you have to do a 1,000-point turn to get out. And certainly,
Yeah, because
I mean, right,
the
the
paved
size of the
driveway
gate,
is only 10 feet wide.
the size of the gate and the pedestals, you could still move this back some distance from the road. And if that's not readily apparent to anybody making an errant turn, they shouldn't be driving. I mean, they just shouldn't be. I can understand right now with the fence because it's not very clear, and folks can find their way down that lane and be in trouble, you know, trying to back out. But I think that there's still a possibility, there's some distance within where it currently is, and before you engage the turn, which then blocks visibility and increases an impediment, where it would decrease the prominence of the gate visually, okay, still maintain access to the historic district, and still keep people and alert them to the fact that, no, you shouldn't be driving down, this is not a street.
Could I ask for a 5-minute recess to consult?
Sure. No, well, that's good.
Yes.
I'm not getting a milkshake. I'm not getting a milkshake tonight. It's always my treat. Yeah, I mean, Momo's gonna be closed.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God, he goes too early.
Yeah, I tell you. Oh.
And this has been going on for like a year.
I didn't realize it was so long. It was back in
Kevin's fault.
Yeah, it's my fault. You're pretty picky here, Kevin.
Well, there was.
Well, I know that guy, Gary.
Oh, he's funny. He was against the.
No, you can see the green light. You have to hold it down.
Oh.
It doesn't, it's not an on-off. You gotta hold it. Yeah. It's difficult.
And talk. Oh.
Yeah, as difficult as possible for you to turn it off.
No.
Oh, I remember that, yeah. I remember him telling me that when I saw him in the woods hiking.
The cars you guys piled up beside it. It's character. I do have chocolate ice cream at home, though.
Cody says nothing good
No one gets the stuff from Gillette. That's not good. It's like creamery.
Yeah, it's delicious.
I know you. Where I've seen your village. Where? I've seen your village from where I know you're from. I've seen your village.
I just walk around the village.
Stalk people. Where did
I
I?
was stalking this property. And I got caught.
Release the hounds.
Okay. I'm gonna leave. I call you probably.
So you're saying this works really intense compared to the others.
Okay, looks good.
Well, I mean, based on these 5 criteria, it kind of looked like 4 out of 5. They were what I was initially thinking.
All right, we propose the area of the property where the gate is located is actually within the suburban residential district zoning code. The front yard setback for that district starts at 30 feet. How about we put it at 30 feet off and set back 30 feet? That'd bring you to 50 feet off the edge of pavement, and it will bring it so that it's still ahead of that bend in the road, so that you don't have to worry about any of the emergency service access, and we'll locate it at the 30-foot setback point.
Could you show us on the
5 additional feet?
where they would be?
So
Well, the pier is 2.5 feet. So if I take that, I'm
So you're
gonna come
moving it
back,
back 5
basically, I'm moving it back so that I'm gonna be back in here.
I was looking something farther back than that.
It completely changes and it's not going to create any major benefit. I think we've already
It's basically,
explained.
for me, it's just, it's mitigating the size, the farther you move it back.
Yeah, the determination around impact to the neighborhood.
It does, but again, I think with photographs and the exhibits that we've submitted, I think that we pretty conclusively demonstrated that it's not going to create an adverse condition within the surrounding neighborhood. I think that we really do meet all of the area variance criteria.
I mean, yes, coming from the side down the street, it's hidden back there, and same thing from coming up the hill.
Yes.
But there's a pretty large area in front of the property where it's.
That's not that large an area. When you're looking at proportionally, the pavement, this pavement of Riverbank Road right there at the gate, that's only 10 feet wide. You bring that back, I mean, I literally just walked directly across the street.
Right.
The area that you're going to see this from, if you are traveling by in a car, is minuscule. The reason that looks the way it looks is because I'm standing on the roadway.
Correct.
At that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's the immediate.
Even the immediate area, okay? You don't have much directly opposite. This is not, there's no sight line to this gate from properties across the street. There's really no one that's impacted by the location or the size of this gate on a given space. Nobody at all. Unless you're walking along the street and you stand there and look at it for a period of time.
Which is anyone walking by.
Well, I know, I get a little bit nervous just walking along that street to take these photographs, to be perfectly honest with you. I think we have a good application.
Okay. So that's my opinion. Other people on the board may have different opinions.
But the proposal was to move it back in 5 additional feet.
Another 5 feet.
We also have one other issue that as you noticed, we have 3 people on the board today. We have two absentees. The way that the voting works is that in order for an approval to happen, you need a quorum, a majority of the 5 members.
Then why did you
so
have us come tonight?
I apologize.
No, so there are enough to approve it. I think the chairman's point is that if you would prefer to wait until all 5 members are present, I think he's just giving you that opportunity.
Yes, it's
You're hearing significant resistance, yeah.
we need a sign.
All right, sorry. We would ask that at this point that you close the public hearing and continue the application to the next regular meeting so that we have a full.
Thank you.
And in the meantime, are you going to revise the site plan to reflect that extra 5 feet, or is that still something that's up in the
Yeah,
air?
you have 2, you can just continue the
Well,
application the way it is.
What additional information would you want in the site plan in general? You want to get the additional building locations and?
Yeah, I mean, any
the
additional
overall site
information,
plan?
the
Let me see, what-
building
what's the- what's the
locations,
submittal date for the next meeting?
I'll text it to you tonight when I get back to
Thanks,
the
Matt.
office, yeah.
If we can make the submittal date, then certainly we'll, add the information.
okay,
to the-
any
to the site
information,
plan.
or if you want to change the location, you're certainly
I'll
welcome to do
discuss
that.
that with my client.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome, thank you.
When is our next meeting?
So our next meeting is September 10th?
Yeah, yep.
Yes, it's September 10th.
Should be the 14th.
Yeah.
Just check my calendar.
Do the second Thursday?
Second
It's the
Thursday?
second
That would be
Thursday.
the 14th.
14th.
I'm available.
Yeah, that will be the 14th, yeah.
14th, okay.
Okay. I apologize, we don't have the full board, but
It's August.
we'll relay all the information that went to the members that aren't here, and we'll continue it on the 14th.
Could we ask that the public hearing be closed this evening?
Yes, motion to close the public hearing.
Aye.
Thank you.
That's the thing, I mean, there's only 3 people. Can the committee chair actually make the motion and then someone will second it? You never know.
Are you gonna approve the minutes?
Yes.
Or
Yes,
you
which ones do we
can't
have?
Because you don't have anybody here. Well, just the two of you.
Right.
But did you need 3?
Can we approve the minutes?
Well, actually,
Just the 2 of us that were here.
right, that's true. Yeah, you should wait till the next.
Oh, wait, gonna be.
Okay. Then we gotta put, you gotta
Okay.
round those guys up.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Aye.
All righty.